Hello everyone, Mike Arnold here, co-founder of Pat Trading Partners along with Bob Igino. We haven't checked in on Dash Coin for a while. Let's update how we've been doing it and all the levels so everybody can follow along and make sure they're getting the same ones. So last time we stopped off, we were looking at this mate 458, 466. We actually had them on this candle, moved them over once we got the corrective candle. I'll show you. We used to have them slightly different. They might be off by a bit, but we waited for the correction that pulled back to the 8 and then gave us the next levels. You see we spiked up there, came back to the bottom of the rotation zone. Let me pull off these other levels also. So we came back to bottom of the rotation zone. And then we actually went to this next spike up rotation zone, which gave us the 529 level. And we, again, you see we got to about 545. And that's where we stalled out right now at this point. I've already updated the GAN levels. You could have taken it to here for an intermediate term. We're just going to move it up here because this is the top of the major correction. And we're also, this is a great other area to do a reverse GAN box. So backwards in time. So coming from this low on the 25th back to the high on the 25th, so going backwards in time. Now, this is a great example. We got the first cross down. We were watching for it to move back up and then catch on the rotation zone and rotate back up. This came to rotation zone, did not get a strong rotation back up. It's now collapsing back down. So we're watching to see, first off, if it can hold this 465 at the 50, but that's flattening out. It's getting weak. Major level we'll be watching for is 446, and if that doesn't hold, we're going to our dailies. We can also come down to look for some minor levels by doing the forward box from that high to this low, which gives us 432, which comes in at this prior support, and 420 to 413. That's going to be a major area. Let's switch over to the daily chart. This has gone pretty far. We're finally getting the correction. We got the rotation back up off the first drop into the zone. And then again, we were watching for the pullback on that 4 hour and then the rotation back up. Did not happen yet. So we're waiting for that pullback. You see right in this 432 area, we're going to have the rising 21 daily and just above that the 50-day exponential. So this is going to be a very key area to watch for on the daily. Should we drop there, do not ignore that, and maybe we'll get a reversal pattern there. You can also start seeing how we did get a divergence. Let me draw this out for everybody. So we made higher highs in price. And if I come down here, you see RSI slightly made a lower high. So you can see this is a slight downward sloping. So these lines are diverging. That's what a divergence is. And again, we're using a 5-period RSI, but you can use whatever length you want. We found the shorter ones work great for these divergence patterns. That's where you start watching for these bigger pullbacks. So hope that helps everybody. Now going back up to the levels to the upside. Let me remove these since they're just going to clutter up the chart. Now we have minor 557, major area 569 to 577, then 610. Right now it's interesting. I'd really target the 600 level because we have the flat 200-day simple moving average coming in right at 600, and that's going to be very key. And also if you look over here, actually at this 577 level, wow, look at this, all this support over here. I hope everyone can see this. So you had buyer step in, buyer step in, buyer step in, then it broke. So if people have just been holding on, hoping it's going to get back there, some people might unload some of their position. Even had it over here. Over here, you had the buyers dip in, buyers come in, and then it rallied up and stalled out at the 50, then came down, buyer stepped in, but then you had the first cross rotation zone, and then it tanked. Rotation down, rotation down, rotation down. Now we're looking to try to get those rotations back up. So do not ignore this 577 or this 600 level, at least for taking profits or moving up your stops. And don't be surprised if we do come down and test within this rotation zone again before looking for a reversal pattern. Okay, switching over to EOS, lots of teaching going on. So we left off with these levels here before, and I think they were right here. Let me change them. This is actually now the correct one. We had it on here because we recorded it before we got a pullback. This was the pullback. So you're going to want to update these kind of levels. So if I say, you know, this level might be temporary because it's not a nice pullback, then just make sure you modify your levels on your own chart when we do get it. So that was correcting those levels, which then gave us major cluster around 1264, then 1365. So you came up here, poking through 1365, poking through. This actually hit the rotation zone on the 1 hour. So these levels are all done. And then you can come back even to some of your base levels, and these go all the way back to the starting of the move. These were the, I didn't draw in the minor levels, which would be from the most recent run up because we're sort of recapping, but these are the major levels. So it came through, next major level 1520, actually spiking close to 1646, but not quite getting there. 1520, closing back down below that, coming in, testing it multiple times this level, then finally launching up here, coming up, hitting the 1646 level, coming back, pulling back to the 1 hour rotation zone, then spiking through, which enabled us also to draw back from the move that started. And again, I just have the major levels on here. You can then see how we're coming to this peak before returning to the rotation zone. Then moving up, 1768, we just spiked in there a little bit ago, and now we're watching for the pullback. I've already updated the GAN levels. Okay. So we poked up to 1790, just above the 1768. Now I'm watching first level support for the 1614. EOS has been acting really strong. So that would be a return to the 12.5 and the rising 8. If we break through there, next level is this prior breakout zone. So you had all this resistance, getting through it, and also the rising 21 coming in right at around 15. So if we break through the 1614, really watch this 15 level, and we'll see if we get a rotation back up there. Now, if we do get, you can go 1921. We could also just here would be coming off the most recent move. So if you're looking where I talk about the most recent move, so this would come up. See, now you'd have an intermediate target 1846 and 1903, and then at some point we can spike up there. If you really wanted to, you could move these up to the major levels again. So, because this level's roughly going to line up. It's going to be a little longer than the other one, but if you see here, let me move this back down. So what was our next major level, 1921? If we come up here, though, from the beginning, we're looking at about 1965, and then look to fine-tune it with these minor levels. So we're looking at 1846, 19, and then 1965 on the next major push-up. Let's switch over to the daily chart. Daily chart, this is getting extended. We don't have any divergences. We might be starting to get a divergence now, depending on where this bar closes, and I'll show you what I mean. So you see we've now pushed higher, and if this bar closes roughly where it is, and then the next bar pulls back a bit, we will start getting a divergence. Doesn't mean this move has to end right now, but it means to get prepared, get your stops in place, or don't get so aggressive with your entries because we may be starting to get the pullback. So we broke out, got the first cross, moved sideways, 8 caught up, pushed it higher. Only had 1 bar correction here, 8 caught up, pushed it higher. This didn't even get back to the 8 on that daily. This was only into the rotation zone on the 4 hour, pushed it higher. But now we look to be waning momentum. So if we do get the bigger pullback, based off a GAN perspective, we'd be looking at about 1439 with the rising 8 coming in. So right now, the 1375 to 1439, and this is going to keep rising. So if maybe tomorrow or Sunday we get a bigger pullback, watch in this area. And then if we're going to break below that, next key level we'd be watching was about 1263. And then not even dropping to the 50% level, unless it was a sudden sharp drop. I'd be watching this little shelf right here with the rising 21 coming in there. So about 1147. And again, why we're identifying multiple levels is because we're watching for the pullback and that rotation back up. Now, if we do get the first cross of the rotation zone, which this was a long way off, but if we do get that first cross, I've mentioned this again, we want it to cross the other way, then retest it and hook back up. If you don't know what I mean, I've talked about this in some videos, I believe yesterday or the day before. So check those out. And that's what we have. You can also see this divergence. I'll draw this on the 4 hour chart, getting pretty clear. So higher high in price, lower high in the RSI, and you can even drag this all the way back here. So you see this was still lower than this peak. The line just cuts through it, but we're sort of still diminishing. So high price keeps going higher. See, price keeps going higher. RSI is drifting lower. So this is lower than this. This one's lower than this one, and vice versa in the price. Price keeps pushing higher. So we're starting to get those divergences. On the 4 hour, the first divergence generally doesn't get it. It's generally you get a couple in a row, but those daily ones pay very close attention to that, because then you're going to watch for that bigger pullback. So we have for you on Dash and EOS, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.